Welcome, I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, tragedy strikes military operations with 2 soldiers feared drowned, even as Army Chief extends olive branch to Niger Delta militants in the quest for peace in the region. National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons pessimistic about ending human trafficking if issues of poverty and unemployment are not properly addressed. NLNG warns of capital flight risks as well as loss of over 1,000 jobs in the oil and gas sector if NLNG Act is repealed. And a fire at an Ethiopian prison kills at least 23 inmates following a stampede and an escape attempt.
And in business news tonight, Nigeria's former head of interim government, Ernest Shonekan, proposes incentives to revive the country's ailing economy.
A sports news, Olympic medalist Mary Onyali Omagbemi wants federal governments to quickly implement the recommendations of the Sports Reform Committee.
And from Abuja, I'm Linda Akibe. Petroleum Minister Ibe Kachiku and NNPC GMD refute reports of proposed increase in pump price of petroleum products, offer assurance that there are no such plans.
We begin tonight in Bayelsa State, south Nigeria, where the military appears to have suffered a major setback in special operation in the Niger Delta, codenamed Operation Crocodile Smile. 2 soldiers are feared to have drowned after a boat mishap along the Brass waterfront in Brass local government area of the state. The soldiers are said to be members of the special military operation, which is being launched in various states in the Niger Delta, aimed at ending the activities of militants in the area. Some residents of the Brass area told Channels Television that efforts to rescue the soldiers failed due to the high tide. They added that the 2 bodies have been recovered. The army has not officially confirmed the incident, but military sources, however, said the soldiers involved were rescued. In the meantime, the military is also reaching out to the militants in the Niger Delta in an effort to secure lasting peace in the region. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, is asking the agitators to come together with a single position if their demands are to be taken seriously. Lieutenant General Buratai, who was speaking on the sidelines of a closed-door meeting with heads of security agencies and representatives of oil companies in Port Harcourt, said the military operation in the area should not be mistaken for an invasion.
There are several factions. Of these militants. So they need to unite and have a common front if at all they are serious. All right? And already there is an existing peace arrangement that is ongoing. That is the amnesty program. It has not been called off. It's still on. So which dialogue do they want again? Everybody is yearning for peace. So we are here to see how we can enhance that peace. It's an issue of concern to all Nigerians and the government of the Federation as well. We, as the military, the army, we are performing our duties, and we must make sure that the threat to our national security is removed.
And staying with military operations, members of the Nigerian 34 Artillery Brigade in Obinze, Imo State, have arrested 3 men for allegedly impersonating soldiers. The brigade's Assistant Director, Army Public Relations, Lieutenant Haruna Tagwai, said the suspects had been passing themselves off as military personnel using fake identity cards. They are also alleged to have equipped themselves with some military kits to perpetrate criminal acts within Owerri metropolis and its environs. Lieutenant Tagwai also said that another 4-man gang suspected to be members of a deadly cult group in Ohaji Egbema local government area of Imo State were also arrested during the operation.
Investigations carried out show that Mr. Michael Chubaubu Obiako and Mr. Emmanuel Sunday have been involved in series of impersonation, harassing and extorting of money from unsuspected victims within Imo State and neighboring states such as Anambra and Abia. The 2 suspects over time have used military uniforms and kits in perpetrating their criminal acts. Other items recovered from suspects include 3 fake military ID cards, military kits, their pictures in military uniform, the camouflage, and a CD plate of Boko Haram. The cultists will be handed over to the Nigerian Police Force, Imo State Command, for further investigation and prosecution.
And in spite of relevant laws against human trafficking in the country, the menace continues to thrive, and that's according to officials of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. The agency's Director for Public Enlightenment, Mr. Orakwe Arinze, however, says the numbers can be brought down drastically if governments at all levels address the issues of poverty and unemployment.
Heads of religious groups, government officials, and members of the civil society organizations all seated in this hall to discuss solutions to human trafficking. But these are not the only ones here. Some survivors of human trafficking are also at the event to relate their experiences.
That day, I regretted of coming to this world. That day, I can remember that I said, how can I end up as a prostitute in another man's country?
According to the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, about 2 million people, mainly women and children, are trafficked worldwide annually. Countries in Africa and Asia top the list of nations trafficking young girls between the ages of 18 and 25 to Europe and America for prostitution. In 2015 alone, NAPTIP investigated 509 cases of human trafficking and prosecuted 56. The agency secured 30 convictions. In spite of such actions, however, this illicit business continued to thrive. Resource persons at this conference explain why the situation has continued.
The huge financial rewards derived from trafficking in humans makes it an attractive and booming business for many individuals and groups who operate in well-organized syndicates.
To curb the trend, rights activists here argue that there is an urgent need to address underlying factors that aid human trafficking.
We cannot combat human trafficking without working for development and for solidarity among countries.
If the state governors can help in addressing issues of poverty alleviation, if the local government also do their job, if schools are fixed, then it will not be to the magnitude that we are seeing it right now.
Nigeria first signed the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons law. Activists say such law, it was repealed 12 years later. Some activists say such laws could change the narratives if fully enforced.
The Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas is seeking the intervention of the federal government over ongoing plans by the National Assembly to repeal the NLNG Act. The NLNG warns that the nation stands the risk of capital flight in the oil and gas sector, loss of potential investment of over 20 billion naira and more than 18,000 jobs if the act is repealed. However, the Information Minister, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, is giving the NLNG the assurance that no action would be taken to jeopardize the success of the company.
That act has enabled this investment, which took more than 30 years to come to fruition. Ultimately, NLNG as a company has been enabled only because of the incentives in the act. But there are guarantees and assurances also given within the act, which you would expect to be sacrosanct. And we would ordinarily expect, as a minimum, sanctity of contract between Nigeria and the investors. So we see the attempt by the legislators to repeal this act as something that could be very, very detrimental to the country and unfortunately to some of your efforts at managing the image of this country.
We have an extremely patriotic National Assembly, and I have absolute confidence that they will not do anything knowingly that would lead to capital flight or mass disinvestment in Nigeria. On our part, we would, of course, we have responsibility also on our part, but I think the bigger responsibility is with you, sir. I think you need to approach the National Assembly, you need to approach the executive, and you need to also embark on serious advocacy on this issue.
Authorities in Niger State have appealed to the federal government to deal with the ecological challenges in different communities. Now, according to the state governor, Abubakar Bello, the state does not have the kind of resources needed to tackle the devastating effects of flooding. In the meantime, the Niger State Emergency Management Agency has given the affected victims the assurance of better welfare.
Homes, schools, farmlands and roads overtaken by flood. This is the aftermath of a 5-day rainfall in Lapai local government area of Niger State. Over 12 communities have been devastated by the water. Most houses have collapsed as a result of the flood, and residents are forced out of their homes.
It was in the night, we were sleeping. The water just come from the upper side here, from the eastern part, yes, from this side. So the water, we since our fathers, we have never observed water in this very village.
We are here on Saturday. We can't see rain. This is school, just full of water. Where water take come, we don't know. Whether from ground, whether from another place, we don't know. So from there, this primary school and secondary school, the water was full there all. So see my house there. Water just full my house. We don't know where this water come from.
Elsewhere in Dokungati area of Lapai local government area, the rain lasted for over 6 hours, washing away farmlands and property. Residents are not finding it any easy.
After this rain now, there was a stream here. This stream overflowed and get into our houses, destroyed our houses, destroyed our food items and everything.
The State Emergency Management Agency has done an assessment of the impact of flood and has promised to assist.
Yeah, we are on the spot scene assessment, and we have seen everything, and we've been on it. And I can assure the victims soonest a relief package will come their way. And we are on campaigns that those at the riverine area should move. Because if it happened here where there is no river, then you wonder and imagine what happened to people that are around the riverine areas.
In the meantime, the state government has called on the federal government to address various ecological challenges devastating several communities in the state.
And we continue to get reactions to the state of the economy. Well, this time is from a former governor of Kaduna State, Alhaji Balarabe Musa. He says the lack of sound economic policy on the part of the government is largely responsible for the current economic downturn. Alhaji Musa told Channels Television that the government's policies have done little to address the yearnings of vulnerable Nigerians. And he warns that failure to address these issues could lead to a mass protest from the people.
The leading role of the state in the economy to ensure peace, equality, justice, dignity of the human person, and progressive even development of the whole country. That's what we need. We ceased to have that from 1970 to today because the leading role in the economy is now progressively being played by the private sector, the private entrepreneurs. And you can't expect private entrepreneurs whose responsibility is to gain profit, maximum profit. You can't expect them to look after the welfare or the people at the center or even the health of the economy. Because everybody is competing for profit. The food we consume in this country, where if you take everything into account, 80% of it is imported. We produce only 20% of what we consume. Now, with this situation, there is no way we can avoid recession. There is no way we can achieve progress. Nobody, up to now, no significant person has been identified, arrested, prosecuted, and dealt with according to law. And this is a very informed and responsible person who said so. Is there any more evidence that things are not proper as much as this statement by somebody who is not even radical? He's a traditional ruler, yet he has the foresight and patriotism to tell the truth.
In part two, after the break, Petroleum Minister Ibe Kachiku refutes reports of proposed increase in pump price of petroleum products, offers assurance that there are no such plans. That's in a moment. Do stay with us.